Hello, this is Ellis Burks with Truth Project, episode 4. We want to kind of still deal some with slavery, but kind of try to move up a little bit. There's some other things I want to touch on as far as envy. I did talk about that. I didn't even talk about some things we want to really deal with voting. And I don't know how far I'll be able to get into all those particular issues, but that's where we want to try to get to. If not all of that this week, possibly next week. So this is without hesitation. Let's move into some things again. I want to encourage us as a people to begin to study, begin to read not just the Word of God, but begin to look back more into slavery. Not slavery in America, but to deal with some of the issues that was taking place in West Africa from 1590 to 1690. Again, I think you'll find out that slavery and the whole deal of what was taking place at that time was a lot broader than a lot of us may know. I do think if we go back and look at that period, at that time, about what was going on, I think that most of you will find that it wasn't that we were being cursed as far as being in slavery. I really think that God was delivering us from a situation that was deteriorating, that many were dying, many were being sold into slavery to the Middle East. I have talked to some of you guys about what that was like. It was a lot rougher than slavery in America. And I do think that us coming to America was an opportunity for God to preserve us and not necessarily to because we were cursed. I did want to really touch on that. But one other thing I really want to deal with is that real whole spirit of envy. I want to touch on a couple of things about envy, some stuff I wrote down here, because I really am getting to a point that I believe that envy is one of the real strongholds of Satan. I really believe that when you go back and look at envy in the Bible, I think you're able to see that because of envy, Cain killed Abel. You can go back and see because of envy, brothers sold Joseph into slavery. Even the Bible deals with in Proverbs 14:30. It says a sound heart is life to the body, but envy is rottenness to the bone. And I wanted to deal with envy this week. I want people to really get an understanding of what envy is all about. And I think envy is really the foothold and the stronghold of the Satan on all of us, his people. That's what I really believe. I believe that what envy does is produce hatred. And what hatred does is produces a willingness for one to accept and enjoy the misfortune of another person or other people. I want to begin by saying that, give an example of that is if you know somebody that's going out for basketball and they didn't make the team and you're excited because they didn't make it. This is envy. And I want to, or somebody's going out for an acting role and they didn't get that role and you're glad about it because you just don't think they deserved it or you really didn't like him anyway. This is envy, and this is kind of envy on an individual level. And I want us to see it that way, and I also want us to be able to see envy on a broader scale. When you look at Iran and Iran's desire to attack Israel, that is envy. And I wanted to go way back in the Bible. I wanted to come up so you can begin to see how envy and the depth of envy and how I believe we have a lot of Christians. I've been experiencing in the church where we have a lot of Christians that, in my estimation, in my interpretation, their heart is really filled with envy. And I don't think envy is something that we've embraced willingly. I think it's part of a tactic of the enemy. So I think it's a deception that we've somewhat of not paid attention to it. And as a result of that, it has really taken root in our lives from the beginning, and it's still in our lives right now. So I wanted to point out a couple of scriptures so we can kind of really see what it's all about, what envy is, and that we begin to pray that God would rid us of envy. That he would begin to allow the light, like his light, to shine into our hearts so envy can leave. I really believe that the truth will make you free. I believe that when you hear the truth, I think that light comes into your heart, and I believe that's when darkness begins to flee. So I really want us to pray for that. I want us to be careful, because one of the things that the devil does, and I'm starting to notice one of his tactics, is that he'll begin to show you a thing, but when you see it, you'll see it from an outward perspective. You'll start saying things like, man, one reason why I didn't get this particular position is because they're jealous of me, because they're envy of me. But that's envy that's directed towards a person. You know, the reason I didn't get a promotion is because they're jealous of me. The reason I didn't get this is because I'm black. These are things where this is how the devil really will have you begin to look at envy outside of yourself. But I really want to say to you that be careful of that and recognize that we want to really deal with envy that's inside of us. So instead of praying against that spirit and looking at all the other people that we know that seem to be envious towards us, I want us to be a people that recognize that the only way you can see envy outside of you that's directed towards you is because there's envy in you. Envy is very destructive. It really does make a person feel comfortable in seeing someone else struggle or someone else fall. And like I say, when the devil can have you envious of somebody, that's one thing. If he can get 4 or 5 people to go along with you and be envious of somebody, then you can see how broad it gets. And after a while, you got 5 or 6, 10, 20 people that you see somebody hurt, that might even beat up somebody and have no problems doing it. And this is the fruit of envy, and that's how that plays. Now, if you get a whole country, you see, to conduct themselves like that, or to have envy to take root, then I think you start seeing things, like I said, with Iran and their desire to obliterate Israel, and you'll also see with Hitler, his ability to really, the Holocaust, and really to try to destroy a whole people. And I think that today I want us to really look at envy, really begin to examine in our hearts, really begin to pray that God will reveal it to us, that we will be a people that we will be able to walk freely. You understand? This is where freedom really comes from. Being detached from all of Satan's devices. It's not enough that we just embrace all that God has for us. We have to be able to see the tactics of the enemy, that we can also denounce a lot of the spirits that he has assigned to us. And envy is one of them. And one of the clear ways that you can see envy is just by a lot of things that have taken place in our land and our lives, even beyond, even in the Bible, even up to this point. And so I really want to put emphasis this week and the following weeks on us really seeing the importance of us voting. Voting is not for you. Voting is an opportunity for you to weigh in on our future. Our future is our children. When you go to our school systems in our community, I want you to go look at those schools and let me know if those people in those communities are voting. I want to encourage churches to encourage people to vote, to do things like have mock elections, you see. Not that we're trying to, we do want to respect church and state, but we do want to encourage our people to vote. We want to encourage our parents to take your kids to the voting polls with you, to voting places with you, so that they will know the importance of voting. And voting is not just important for black people. Voting is important for all people. My concern is black people aren't really going out to vote the way we really need to. And who's suffering as a result of that? Our community is suffering, our kids are suffering, and we're suffering. So I just want to encourage people to keep looking for a Truth Project. We're going to be dealing with other issues. Our time is what it is, but we're going to try to keep coming once a week or at least once every 2 weeks and try to bring some type of wisdom, some kind of a little bit of knowledge about our past, about where we come from, where we are, and where we're going. Again, I want to thank you again for listening to A Truth Project. Peace.